Welcome to the Music Show. I'm your host, Jeremy Matthews. On today's show, we welcome Richard Jamack, the music teacher at Gregory School of Math, Science, and Technology. We'll talk about a special program that he has implemented into his 5th grade curriculum, which allows the students to compose music. Then we will take an in-depth look at the art of composing. We will learn a little about the history of composing and talk about what it takes to create music. And finally, we will see some of the final projects of the 5th grade students at Gregory as we watch a PowerPoint that moves with their music. We have a great show lined up for you today, so stay tuned. We'll be right back.
Come on, boy. Come on. What do you got there, Yogi? Huh? What do you found? What do you got, little fella? Drop it. Looks like someone's butt. Man, they probably lost it playing with their kids. Hey, leave it. Come on. Come on.
John Steinbeck based most of his novels on the American experience. Steinbeck grew up in a California agricultural community where he learned firsthand the struggles of farm workers. The Grapes of Wrath, one of Steinbeck's most acclaimed novels, shed light on the experience of displaced farmers during the Great Depression. This background in literature has been brought to you by New Hanover County Schools.
Welcome back to the Music Show. We have with us today Mr. Richard Jamack from Gregory School of Math, Science, and Technology. He's the music teacher at Gregory. Welcome, Richard. How are you?
Thank you, Jeremy. Very good.
Good. I wanted to ask you about the composition program you've used with your students. First question, why did you decide to implement music composition into your curriculum?
Well, it is part of our normal curriculum to have the students do some composition, but we've had, for a couple of years now, we've had the finale program. And based on the theory that when we started using spreadsheets, people had their brains freed up to create, I thought, well, why don't I just try this with the music composition as well? The music composition the program has alleviated some of the drudgery and left the students totally free to create.
Okay, so you do use the Finale software program?
Right now we're using Finale Print Music. Last year we just used the free version, the downloadable for free, which is called Finale Notepad. The students went way beyond that last year in things that they wanted to try to do. So we upgraded to the full Finale program for this school year and have it installed on computers in our lab.
So with the program, the students can hear their music once they've composed it?
Absolutely. What they look at is a computer screen, and it looks like a sheet of music. Mm-hmm. The controls are not anywhere near as difficult as some word processing would be. Okay. They can put the notes on the screen. If they like what they hear, they can put other notes. If they don't, they can move them around, delete them, or whatever. They can also choose what type of instruments. They can use anything from one instrument to a whole symphony of instruments. We had one that was composed for 12-member brass choir, 12 different brass instruments. So there's any combination of instruments. And again, it alleviates some of the drudgery, and it totally opens a student up to creativity.
Okay. Now, how did you prepare your students to use the program? What was the first step?
Of course, in 4th grade, as you know, they all have recorders. They've played recorders in this county in 4th grade. So they had some exposure to playing a simple instrument, some basic music reading. But for this program and this project, I took about 2 class days to go over the software in our classroom. Very lightly covering it, because like I said, it's not much more difficult than word processing, which most kids can do anyway today. So with just a little bit of classroom instruction on the software itself and just a brief review of some basic music reading, we were ready to hit the lab. And we went in the computer lab for a 9-week period. So for each person, they were in there 9 times in the computer lab.
Okay. Now, how did your students react to the software? I mean, is there a learning curve with the software?
Actually not, Jeremy, because like I said, most of the kids are good on word processing these days, and I didn't cover every single corner of that program, but enough to where they could get in and create music very well. Basically, the students hit it, like I say, like blue fish in a feeding frenzy. That's why we had to upgrade the software after last year. It just wouldn't keep up with what they wanted to do.
Okay.
Students of all abilities, it's like a magnet. They were glued to it.
And kids, students love technology also.
Absolutely. That has the hook right there as well. Yeah.
Right. What could you elaborate on some of the benefits the students would receive from learning how to compose music compared to playing an instrument?
Okay. If they were playing an instrument, as most people know, it takes a lot of time before you can get to play tough music, difficult music, or be very creative and ad lib. Well, these students were able to be creative on day one when they walked into the lab. Being able to play this music on an instrument was not one of our criteria.
Okay.
If I would have made that a criteria, we would have had some very simple, very basic compositions. They had the sky's the limit. They were able to use 32nd notes, 64th notes, anything they thought sounded good with what they were going to do. Total
Awesome.
creativity. That was the main goal.
Great. Now, I understand you created a PowerPoint. How was it created? Did the students, was it all student generated?
I created the PowerPoint with digital pictures that I had taken of the kids working in the lab.
Okay.
And then I just put in PowerPoint recordings of their own work.
Okay.
I have them saved. I can save them. See, this new software allows us to save them as WAV files. So some of the kids have already actually saved them to a WAV file, copied them to a CD. Now they can be played in any CD player. That was one of the upgrades that we wanted to get with this new program. So to be able to take what they created and play it through their car CD player was an extra step.
And then their parents can
And
hear
their,
it
their parents
automatically.
can, of course, they were printing this out as well. And as you know, print notation is just perfectly printed.
Has the project been displayed at the school or for the school? Where are these final projects displayed?
Absolutely. We had them playing for a good while in the front lobby area of the school on a laptop. In fact, the PowerPoint was playing automatic, around to repeat itself. And we had some printouts of their work up on the wall. Now, some of them are 12 pages long, so we didn't do all 12, but usually the cover page and something else, we would see their title, their name, and a good idea of what they were composing. So there was a visual plus the PowerPoint,
Okay. So the finale print music is a step up above the regular notepad that was free on the internet.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely. And many of the kids have downloaded the free version at home so they can continue on. Just it's minus some of the features that we have now.
Okay. So with the program, the students are able to compose their music. They could print out a copy if they want to see the score.
Absolutely.
And then you said you could also turn into a WAV file and they could create their own CD.
They could turn it into an MP3 file as well if they want. And that's, again, part of this new software allows them to do that. And that's all without, and that's without spending the years learning how to play an instrument, which we know can take a long time before it gets really interesting. They were able to jump right in there and just throw down some notes if they liked it, keep it. And it was amazing, absolutely amazing what they come back with. They all knew that they were going to have to listen to them in the classroom. So they knew that other class members would be listening to what they did.
Right.
Now there's an interesting thing that's developed from this is while we've been listening to them, the ones they like are the ones that actually use a little more traditional harmonies, traditional melodies. So I didn't have to stand there and beat anybody with a club saying these are traditional melodies, these are traditional harmonies. They created, and what they're finding they like are the ones that match a little more like what you and I are used to from regular music theory classes. But they did it completely out of creativity, and they're coming around to where they would have been had we spent the semester talking about music theory.
Well, that is astounding.
When you hear them, they're interesting.
And
Well, some are far out, but some are very far out, and some of them would be good backgrounds to a science fiction movie, maybe. So it's everything. It's the whole gamut. One's a string quartet, typical little sound. Believe it or not, a string quartet out of 10-year-olds.
And speaking of music for a movie, that's a whole career in itself, composing for movies and television.
Absolutely.
Yes. Well, in a few minutes, we will hear some of your students' compositions.
Super.
All right. We'll be back in just a few minutes with more of the music show, and we'll be talking about composing and listening to some of the students' compositions from Gregory Elementary School. So please stay tuned for more of the music show.
History's Timeline, a world of history in 60 seconds, brought to you by New Hanover County Schools. June 25th, 1950, the Korean War starts when North Korean forces invade South Korea. October 25th, 1951, Julius and Ethel Rosenberg are sentenced to death for espionage against the United States. November 6th, 1952, first hydrogen bomb exploded by the U.S. in the Pacific. May 29th, 1953, Edmund Hillary and Norkie Tenzing become the first men to climb to the top of Mount Everest. October 4th, 1957, Soviet space satellite Sputnik 1 is launched. This has been History's Timeline, an educational snapshot of the fascinating people, places, and events that have shaped our past.
Eat out and eat healthy. Impossible? Not anymore. Introducing the Winner Circle Healthy Dining Program, a new statewide program designed to make eating healthy at all your favorite restaurants easy. Just look for the Star and Fork logo and rest assured you'll find delicious and nutritious menu choices to help keep you healthy. The Winner Circle, where nutritious meets delicious.
Welcome back to the Music Show. Today we're talking about music composition. A composer, from the Latin word meaning one who puts together, is a person who creates music, usually by musical notation, for interpretation and performance. The term composer is often used specifically to mean a composer in the Western tradition of classical music. In popular music and folk music, the composer is typically called a songwriter, since the music generally takes the form of a song. The level of distinction between composers and other musicians varies, which affects the difference given to individual interpretations of a particular piece of music. In the development of European music, the function of composing music initially had no greater importance than that of performing it. The preservation of individual compositions received little attention, and musicians generally had no qualms about modifying compositions for performance. Over time, however, the written notation of the composer has come to be treated as strict instructions from which performers should not deviate without good reason. Performers do, however, play the music and interpret it in a way that is all their own. Now, with the use of new computer technology, the ability to compose notes and hear an immediate playback by a wide range of different instruments is possible. Now we welcome back Richard Jamack from Gregory Elementary School, who joins us with two of his students, Jasmine Young and Preston Lennon. We're going to talk more about composing and get a better understanding of what it is like to compose music using one of these programs. Welcome to the show.
Thank you.
First, Mr. Jamack, are there specific goals that the students work towards when composing their music?
The students were working just strictly to experiment with creativity. We were using some basic, guidelines of music theory, but it was not belabored at all. The whole project was strictly to develop some creativity. And the music notation software allows them to do that without getting bogged down in writing it or even having to perform it.
Was there a minimum time limit or maximum time limit on your project for their final composition?
Their final one, no. The first one we did when we first went into the lab, they worked as partners, and each partner group had to create 12 measures just to keep a short one so they could get their hands on with the software. And two heads are better than one, so they were able to work out the glitches. And then they worked on compositions on their own with no limitations at all in how many instruments, which instruments, or how long it was going to be. We used one whole 9-week period of going into the computer lab each day when it came to music.
Sounds good. Okay. Preston, I'll ask you first. What did you think about composing music?
I thought it was really fun just to experiment with it, see how the different notes sounded compared to like a banjo and the guitar, the same notes. Being able to use a whole variety of different instruments to make sounds with them.
All right. And what did you think about composing music?
I thought it was very fun. I had a lot of fun experimenting with the different notes and how they go together when you put them in the same place, and how we got to choose from all the different instruments to use.
And what was your favorite instrument to compose for?
Probably it would have to be the piano.
The piano, okay. And did you have a favorite instrument you like to write for?
Most of my songs, I use the electric bass, electric guitar, and the piano.
Okay.
Most of them.
Sounds good, okay. Could you describe the composing process? Like, how did you make decisions on what notes to use, if you would use a quarter note or a whole note? I guess we'll ask you first.
Well, it all depended on how fast you wanted that part of the song to go.
Okay.
If you wanted it to go faster than other parts, then you would have to use a smaller part of a note, like an 16th of a note or something. But if you wanted it to go slower, you could use a whole note or just a half note, as opposed to 16th.
Okay. Now, how did you decide what kind of notes to use?
Well, I can read music, so I kind of knew like the 16th note would play really fast, and the whole notes we used for slower. Like you would use the whole notes for maybe the bass to keep a beat,
Okay.
and the quarter notes, the half notes, those would be used for the actual song, the main line.
Are you happy with the way your composition turned out?
I'm really happy with how mine turned out, my
Okay.
couple songs that I did.
Okay. And Jasmine, are you happy with the way your songs turned out, your composition turned
I
out?
was happy with the way mine turned out. A lot of people said mine was long, but I still liked it.
How long was your composition, do you remember?
On the computer, it was 10 pages maybe.
Okay. Okay. 10 pages, so it was probably 4 or more minutes.
Yeah.
Probably. Okay. All right. Is there any music that you use, Jasmine, to help you or inspire you to create your project? Any influences?
I just thought about a lot of songs that I listen to every day,
Okay.
and if I could change them up, what would I do to them?
Okay. All right. And Preston, do you have any influences that came into your music, or?
Well, I played the piano. I've played that for a long time now, so I had some knowledge and what to do, a couple songs, and then I listened to the radio a lot, so combining a bunch of songs.
All right.
Maybe.
All right. And what was your favorite part about composing, Preston?
The favorite part was probably listening to all the finished compositions after we were done.
So you got to listen to all of them in your class?
Listen to most of the
Good, good.
pieces.
And what was your favorite part about composing?
Mine was probably the beginning, when we got to first just see what the notes sounded like mixed together. And I also liked the end, when we got to listen to everyone else in our class.
So the experimenting with the different sounds and the rhythms was interesting to you?
Yes.
Good, good. Now, would you like to, or do you want to continue composing? We'll start with you.
For the rest of the year, I would like to keep composing. It was really fun for me. And I started another song, and I'd love to finish that one. So I hope I can do it next year, maybe.
Okay, and how about you?
I'd like to go to the computer lab every week for music. That'd be
That would be fun, huh? Good, good. Well, it sounds like Mr. Jamak really opened your eyes to the world of composing.
Yeah, you did a good job.
Just
Good.
a good chance. Just a good chance. Why not take it?
Why not? Why not? Okay, well, I appreciate you coming in, and later in the show, we're going to hear some of your compositions. I look forward to hearing them. Coming up next, we're going to watch the final product from Mr. Jamak's class. His 5th grade class is at Gregory School of Math, Science, and Technology, and it's their music compositions played along with a PowerPoint. So stay tuned for more of the Music Show. We'll be right back.
What state am I?
The Grand Canyon is located in my state. Major observatories Kitt Peak and Flagstaff are here. The saguaro cactus is my state flower. Do you know who I am? If you guessed Arizona, you're right. I received statehood in 1912.
This United States factoid has been brought to you by New Hanover County Schools on the Learning Network of the Cape Fear.
It's time for a flashcard math check. Get out your pencil and paper and get ready to test your math knowledge and multiplication. Are you ready? Here we go. Did you get the right answers? Well, let's find out. 4 times 1 equals 4. 2 times 2 equals 4. 1 times 9 equals 9. 7 times 3 equals 21. 6 times 12 equals 72. Keep working on those math skills and keep it tuned here to the Learning Network of the Cape Fear for more flashcard math checks. Brought to you by New Hanover County Schools.
This is Jack Thomas. Today, someone almost brought Jack something to eat. Someone almost drove him to a shelter. And someone else almost brought him a warm blanket. And Jack Thomas? Well, he almost made it through the night.
It's springtime in the forest of the black-tailed deer. The young male is feeling playful. It's time for tag. The female flicks her ears. Her way of saying, "Catch me if you can."
Welcome back to the Music Show. I'd like to thank our guests today, Mr. Richard Jamack, Miss Jasmine Young, and Mr. Preston Lennon for joining us today and talking to us about their projects and music composition. If you would like to know more about the music programs in New Hanover County Schools, please visit our website at www.nhcs.net/ Arts Ed. I'm Jeremy Matthews. Thanks for tuning in.